Ladies and gentlemen, a huge monumental victory. Just a couple hours ago, the Supreme Court sides with President Trump on the biggest issue facing the United States of America at the moment. We'll get to that in just a second. I want to give you some context. A couple of weeks ago, President Trump wins dismissal of emoluments court case that challenged legality of payments to his hotels by foreigners. Okay, they tried to get him on the emoluments clause of the Constitution. Okay, they didn't care that their nominee, Madam Cyberhack, who is running in 2020, we'll get to that later, and she'll be the Democratic nominee, but they didn't care that there was just an overt money, it was an overt money laundering racket, her foundation. They didn't care. So you had money flowing from all different sources into their nominee's foundation, and they didn't care about the emoluments case. Cash flowed to Clinton Foundation amid Russian uranium deal. They didn't care. But Trump wins dismissal of emoluments court case that challenged legality of payments. So he won that court case. Okay. Then Mueller's testimony is a complete and unmitigated catastrophe, a disaster, a public relations failure of epic proportions, where he doesn't even know who Fusion GPS and Glenn Simpson are. Okay, so that's after 2 years, $40 million, 500 warrants, 200 names unmasked, 30 people indicted, over 30 people that have nothing to do with interfering in the election. They haven't even quantified how many people altered their votes because of Facebook ads. The ODNI and DHS reports come with warranty disclaimers, literally telling the American people that the United States government cannot state with certainty. The Office of Director of National Intelligence under President Obama and the Department of Homeland Security under President Obama came out with warranty disclaimers that states nobody is certain. These are in the reports. Judgments should not be confused as fact, and the United States does not provide any guarantees or warranties for any claims made. That is coupled with CrowdStrike, outsourced by the DNC, to then say that Russia hacked the DNC to inform the country that Bernie Sanders was cheated. Then, of course, the Steele dossier was purchased by Clinton through her law firm. The conflicts of interest are there's no precedent for these conflicts of interest. So then you have FISA warrants that were given. Of course, they deceived judges to obtain these warrants. Look, they set up and framed President Trump. They lost. They couldn't even. Then they tried to get him on obstruction, which is a joke. And they're still now they're trying to get grand jury information. They're going to lose at that also. The courts are siding with President Trump. These fabricated investigations are taking on the end, and they're just like a balloon that's popped, fizzling out. Okay, he's winning there, and now you have John Durham and William Barr. So you got to get just some context before we get to the Supreme Court decision. So he's won with the emoluments issue. He's won with an overt attempt at ousting a president. Okay, he's won there. The UK ambassador disparaged him. The UK ambassador is out. You have one guy who is representing Stormy Avenatti. He's facing a long time, potentially, in the big house. Potentially, possibly. Every single person, and I gave a whole list. Andrew McCabe is under criminal investigation. James Baker is under criminal investigation. These are 2 FBI agents. Eric Schneiderman, former Attorney General of New York, no longer there. Al Franken, no longer in the Congress. I mean, there's a whole list of people. Mueller, his reputation now is in tatters. We know that he didn't even write the report. Now you have. I just wanted to give you a quick rundown. Okay, Trump wins. Okay, so Supreme Court paves way for Trump administration to use military funds for wall. The Supreme Court sided with the Trump administration on Friday in lifting a freeze backed by a lower court that had altered plans to use the $2.5 billion in Pentagon funds for wall construction. The decision, which split the bench along ideological lines, allows the administration to move ahead with plans to use military funds to replace the existing fence in California, Arizona, and New Mexico. The conservative judges in the court ruled in favor of the administration. Liberal judges Elena Kagan, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and Sonia Sotomayor dissented, and Justice Stephen Breyer issued a split opinion, agreeing in part with both sides. So you have a situation, ladies and gentlemen, where he's picked two Supreme Court justices. The economy is great. Record low unemployment, record low Black and Latino unemployment, so he's not doing a very good job at being a racist, is he? You have economic zones. He signed the First Step Act. Already 3,100 inmates were released. Okay, the opposite of the 94 crime bill, the opposite of Clinton taking prison lobbyist donations that Democrats didn't care, didn't seem to be enabling or supremacy or anything when she did that. Which is why you know all of these theories are purely political based most of the time. Because you never hear people in the Democratic circle say, "I'm not voting for Clinton when she runs again in 2020," or "I'm not voting for Madam Cyberhack in 2016" because of all of these theories. It's only President Trump, who, by the way, is presiding over a great economy, first president to step foot in North Korea. So many achievements, and this issue right here, President Obama deported more human beings than any president ever. Those pictures, those horrendous pictures they were tweeting about young people in cages, oh, guess what? That was the Obama administration. They don't have a leg to stand on in terms of the moral argument. You know, there are things that I disagree with in terms of President Trump's initial handling, but the executive order took care of that. And, okay, but guess what? President Obama, in a Senate report, they found that young people were being given, and this is a Senate report that Democrats don't talk about, to traffickers. And so all of the things you see and other horrendous issues were taking place under President Obama. There was one Guardian article, orphaned by deportation. I mean, you had the same things without the fanfare, without AOC taking pictures in front of chain-linked fences, and you don't get to see what's on the other side of the fence. And yet the moral equivalency argument is running the Democrats into the ground. And I explain in my Jerusalem Post article below how offensive AOC, how dangerous and how offensive her comments were, worse than anything Trump has said, and they don't even condemn. And that's below in the pinned comment. Okay, so the president celebrated the ruling on Twitter. Wow, big victory on the wall. The United States Supreme Court overturns lower court injunction, allows southern border wall to proceed. Big win for security and the rule of law. We are pleased the Supreme Court recognized the lower courts should not have halted construction on walls on the southern border. Justice Department spokesman, said in a statement, "We will continue to vigorously defend the administration's effort to protect our nation." Look, you have to find a way. This is not about, I have friends who are dreamers, and they don't care about the wall either way. Immigrants who are here don't care about the wall. It's Democrats who look at it and say, oh my God, this is so horrible, it's medieval, and then they say, oh my God, look what's taking place at that region of the country. So which one is it? Do you want to dissuade people from bringing children? And when you see these horrendous scenes of parents and their kids and people and young people losing their lives, it's because of they've trekked hundreds and hundreds of miles. In some cases, they found a way to go thousands of miles in horrendous conditions without food and water, and they come to these centers, on the verge of collapsing in in a horrendous physical health, which any human being would experience the same thing. And so you can't blame President Trump for the issues taking place there, because the same issues took place under President Obama. I mean, if I got into a debate with anyone on the left, very simple to read the most horrendous headlines during the Obama administration, and the headlines were written in a way in the most benign manner possible. With Trump, it's like, oh yeah, it's his fault. With President Obama, oh, this happened, that happened. Well, it's not really his fault. He's just following the law. You know, Congress has to fix issues, but this horrendous thing happened and that horrendous thing happened, and I can't even really talk about it because of the algorithm. So for me, it's not about, I have friends who are dreamers. I want dreamers to become citizens. Democrats could have struck a deal for every dreamer in the country to become a citizen. President Trump said, hey, you know what? Give me the funding for the wall. We can make this deal. All dreamers. They never wanted that to happen because they didn't want 800,000 to 1 million young people saying, oh, I gained citizenship under President Trump's administration. So they said no. Now they're not going to get that. And Clinton is running again. She's going to lose. They're not going to get anything. They just continue to lose constantly. And they pretend to care about the rights of immigrants when in reality they don't care at all. So, and then here you have Biden. This is hilarious. Former Obama doctor looked frail during Miami debate. Gee, that's bizarre. What have I been saying? What have I been saying? Harris started attacking him, and he looked frail to me. I sort of got a feeling he wasn't very strong. It was similar to the feeling I got when Republicans started attacking Mueller so fiercely. Okay, so here you have even Democrats. President Obama's doctor, you could rest assured, is a Democrat. They're paving the way for Clinton 2020, like I said, but they're not going to win. They could come close because of the fundraising. She'll raise $2 billion. He'll raise over $1 billion. But earlier this month, a divided 3-judge panel of the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals in San Francisco agreed with the lower court that prevented the government from tapping Defense Department counter-drug money to help build high-priority sections. So this is an issue, ladies and gentlemen, where you need a wall to deter from drugs and narcotics, and you need a wall to actually, as a deterrent for people not to just look. If people are claiming asylum, you have to go through a port of entry, and the majority of people are not claiming a political asylum. It's different from trying to find a better life economically, which I do agree. I don't look at this. I don't look at it and say, oh, okay, well, these people are, horrible people. And no, I don't. The vast majority are amazing, wonderful human beings. I've known a great many undocumented immigrants, and they're wonderful human beings. But that's not the issue here for me. And it's not the issue for most people. You need some kind of deterrent so you prevent these facilities that AOC says are akin to moments in history that she should never be talking about in her life because she lacks not only the understanding and the knowledge and the information, but also the wisdom to even speak about that time period. And I explain in my Jerusalem Post article, op-ed, below in the pinned comment. Trump declared a national emergency because there was one. Then Democrats said it's a fabricated issue. It was no national emergency. Then for purely political reasons, they said, oh my God. Then they're shameless. All of their stunts, from AOC pretending to weep at pictures that we can't see. Generally, you can actually see if someone's looking at something that's heartbreaking, you could see them weeping and the actual thing they're looking at. Generally, if there's a Mueller report, hopefully he's read it and hopefully he's written it. None of those two things took place. And they keep on losing. UK ambassador resigns. I mean, this is this is a streak of losses, and they haven't gotten a victory in a long time. They are in complete and utter tatters and disarray. And the Supreme Court, there are other Supreme Court decisions regarding this and emoluments and the Supreme Court's going to side with Trump. This is not egregious. This is an actual national emergency. They said it wasn't. It was a fake emergency. Then they said it's the biggest. And then they pivoted in. Immediately when it was politically expedient for them. Then they said it was the biggest issue of our time before it was a fabricated emergency. Then they were like, oh, we're going to get you on the emoluments clause. They lost on that also. We're going to get you on Trump-Russia. There was no evidence. And guess what? John Durham and William Barr are looking at all the evidence. Looking at all the evidence that points to people committing crimes. Comey, Strzok, McCabe, Clapper actually committing crimes. So this is a huge Supreme Court paves way for Trump administration to use military funds for wall. This is unbelievable. President Trump, he's like Michael Jordan. With Jordan, you couldn't stop him. You can only hope to contain him. They can't stop President Trump. They cannot stop President Trump. The only thing they can say is, oh, he's a bad person. He's horrible, but he continues. One thing with Trump, he makes promises and he keeps those promises. He says the economy is going to be great. The economy is great. Says he's building a wall. He's building it. He didn't want an interventionist foreign policy. He is following that. And actually, he's the first president to visit North Korea. And they're so petulant. Democrats are so petulant. They're like, oh, yeah, well, it's not that big of a deal, It's just a photo op in North Korea. Like, he's achieved monumental things. And all they can say is, well, what he represents is really bad. Oh, really? What about when President Obama drank Flint water? Well, that's a different story. And all of their, the pseudo-intellectual theories just come crashing down. Well, Trump called another country, what. And President Obama and Biden and Clinton actually, their intervention resulted in the destruction of an African nation, the destruction of Libya. But the left doesn't care. They're all about public relations and Twitter. Give me your thoughts below. A monumental victory for President Trump. Monumental victory in a string of victories that just doesn't seem to end. Give me your thoughts below. Thank God. Give me your thoughts below. Great news. Thank you.